The real story of Christmas. It's the time of year when we put up trees, hang lights, and let our homes fill with the warm spirit of the holidays. A time of gifts, gatherings, and carols that few could say no to. But have you ever wondered where these traditions come from? Why do we decorate a tree, hang stockings, or sing in the snow? Where did the famous Santa Claus come from, with his red suit, his sleigh, and his reindeer? What we know today as Christmas has more ancient roots, often dark and mystical. Join us as we explore the real story of Christmas, a holiday that has evolved from ancient pagan rituals into the global celebration we know today. The pagan origin of Christmas traditions. Long before Jesus was born, ancient tribes in northern Europe celebrated the winter solstice. This event marked the longest night of the year and the return of longer days. To celebrate, they held Yule, a 12-day festival filled with feasts, bonfires, and offerings to the sun. During this time, they burned the famous Yule log, which would burn throughout the festivities, while decorating their homes with fir and holly branches as a symbol of everlasting life. Over time, these customs were adapted and blended with Christian traditions, becoming the Christmas tree we know today. Christmas trees today. Every year, in the United States alone, 350 million Christmas trees are grown on over 15,000 farms. Trees are not just a decorative tradition, but a central symbol of the season. Many say that the smell of a real tree is the true spirit of Christmas. But how do we connect these ancient traditions to the birth of Jesus? The birth of Jesus and the Christianization of the solstice. For Christians, Christmas begins with the birth of Jesus. It's a big deal. But get this, the books of Matthew and Luke, the only ones that talk about Jesus' birth, tell it differently. Matthew talks about the Star of Bethlehem and wise men bringing gifts. Luke tells about shepherds visiting, a simpler scene. Over time, both stories got mixed up into the one we know. So, when was Jesus born? Early Christians didn't celebrate birthdays, and nobody wrote down Jesus' real birthday. So why December 25th? Before Christianity, Romans celebrated Sol Invictus, unconquered sun, on December 25th. It was a big deal because the sun started getting stronger after winter. The church had a plan. In the 300s, they decided to make December 25th Jesus' birthday. This way, they could include old traditions and make it easier for people to become Christians. Jesus, called the light of the world, became connected to the sun, his birth matching the winter solstice. Saturnalia, the Roman carnival that inspired Christmas. Another important part of Christmas's origin is Saturnalia, a Roman festival to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture. Here are some key things about Saturnalia. It was celebrated from December 17th to the 23rd, and was a time for parties, feasts, and making peace. During this time, social classes didn't matter as much. Slaves could wear their master's clothes and speak their minds without fear of punishment. People exchanged gifts, a tradition that continues today. Like Sol Invictus, the church absorbed Saturnalia, adopting some of its festive elements like gift-giving and the atmosphere of joy. The Christmas tree, one of the most iconic symbols of the holidays, has its roots in Nordic and Germanic traditions. The Norse people used to decorate the Yggdrasil, the tree of the universe, during their winter celebrations. With the arrival of Christianity in Northern Europe, St. Boniface, a German missionary, replaced the sacred Nordic tree with a pine tree. The pine tree, being evergreen, represented the eternal love of God. It was decorated with apples, symbolizing original sin, and candles, which represented the light of Christ. Over time, these decorations evolved into the baubles and lights we know today. The tree comes to America. In 1848, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert of England popularized the Christmas tree in an engraving that showed their family gathered around a decorated tree. The image reached the United States and quickly became a Christmas symbol adopted by the middle class. Over time, Christmas developed two sides: the solemn one, celebrated in churches with hymns, candles, and prayers, and the festive one, a lively celebration full of feasts, carols, and drinks. In England and America during the 17th century, Protestant reformers, especially the Puritans, rejected Christmas celebrations. They saw them as an excuse for overindulgence and chaos. In Massachusetts, Christmas was even banned in 1659. As the United States grew, Christmas traditions softened and became more family-oriented. It was in the 19th century that two New Yorkers helped shape modern Christmas. The figure of Santa Claus as we know him today comes from the merging of two traditions. Saint Nicholas, a 4th century bishop who gave gifts to children and left his legacy in Europe, and Santa Claus, the Dutch version of Saint Nicholas, who came to America with immigrants. In 1822, the poet Clement Clarke Moore wrote a poem titled A Visit from Saint Nicholas. This poem shaped the modern Santa Claus, a jolly elf with a white beard and a sack full of gifts. He traveled in a sleigh pulled by 8 reindeer, whose names were mentioned for the first time in the poem. Thomas Nast, the illustrator who defined Santa Claus. In the 19th century, artist Thomas Nast added important details: the red suit with white trim, the idea that he lives at the North Pole, and the famous list of good and bad children. We have explored the ancient roots of Christmas, the Roman Saturnalia, the Norse Yule, the birth of Jesus, and the evolution of Santa Claus. Now we'll see how the Industrial Revolution, advertising, and television transformed Christmas into a global phenomenon. Get ready to discover how a religious and festive celebration became a commercial and cultural event, where Santa Claus went from being a symbol of generosity to becoming the best salesman of all time. In the 19th century, Christmas traditions started to change a lot. The Industrial Revolution brought a new middle class with free time and money, which allowed Christmas celebrations to focus on home and family. New York and the birth of modern Christmas. New Yorkers, especially those of Dutch descent, began to shape Christmas traditions based on Old World customs. One of the key figures was Clement Clarke Moore, who in 1822 wrote the poem A Visit from Saint Nicholas. This poem laid the groundwork for the figure of Santa Claus as a jolly elf who traveled in a sleigh pulled by reindeer. The Christmas tree becomes essential. In 1848, the image of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert with their Christmas tree arrived in America. The middle class adopted this tradition, and the tree became the center of the family celebration. Thomas Nast and the transformation of Santa Claus. In the 19th century, illustrator Thomas Nast added the finishing touches to the image of Santa Claus: his red suit with white trim, his workshop at the North Pole, the list of good and bad children. Thus, Christmas began to be a holiday more oriented towards home, children, and family togetherness. But its evolution would not stop there. We wouldn't have Christmas as we know it today without advertising and consumerism. The commercial revolution. In the mid-1800s, big department stores started using Santa Claus in their ads. The very first Santa Claus ad appeared in 1840 for a shopping mall. Soon, stores were using him to sell everything, from coal to shoes. Coca-Cola and the definitive image of Santa Claus. In 1931, Coca-Cola hired an artist named Haddon Sundblom to redesign Santa Claus for their ads. Sundblom came up with the jolly chubby Santa Claus we know today, with his famous red suit. Santa's red suit already existed, but Coca-Cola made it super popular. These images were everywhere, and that's how the modern Santa Claus became famous all over the world. Black Friday and mass consumption. Over time, Christmas became one of the biggest shopping seasons of the year. In the United States, Black Friday kicks off the Christmas shopping season, making billions of dollars in sales. In the middle of the 20th century, television became a really important part of Christmas, especially for kids. Classic Christmas specials. In 1962, the animated special, based on the book by Charles Dickens, premiered. Then came other iconic productions, Charlie Brown and the Meaning of Christmas. In 1965, the special marked a milestone on television. It included a Christian message and a call to think about the real meaning of Christmas. Even though the producers thought it would be a flop, it became a classic that's still shown every year. Movies and carols. In theaters, movies like from 1946 and songs like by Bing Crosby reinforced the idea of a nostalgic Christmas full of good values. Over time, Christmas has changed a lot to fit in with modern times. Christmas traditions have gone global. Thanks to movies, TV, and music, American Christmas traditions like Santa Claus, reindeer, and decorated trees have spread all over the world. Even countries that aren't Christian, like Japan, have adopted some of these traditions, like decorating their cities with lights and eating fried chicken on Christmas. Technology has also changed Christmas. The internet has totally changed how we celebrate Christmas. Online shopping on websites like Amazon and Cyber Monday sales are now a big part of the holidays. We also have new digital traditions, like sending e-cards and sharing Christmas pictures on social media. The most amazing thing about Christmas is how it's changed over many years, adapting to each time period and culture. Christmas has two sides. On the one hand, it's still a religious holiday that celebrates the birth of Jesus. On the other hand, It's a holiday about spending time with family, remembering good times, and yes, even shopping. Traditions are powerful. Even though Christmas has changed a lot, some things have stayed the same since the very beginning. We still light up the darkness of winter, come together with loved ones to share meals and gifts, and celebrate hope and new beginnings. What makes Christmas so special? More than traditions or decorations, it's really about spending time with the people we love. It's a time to think about what we're grateful for and wish good things for others. The Christmas we know today is the result of thousands of years of history. It's a unique blend of old traditions, Christian traditions, and new traditions. From Yule logs to twinkling lights, from the wise men to Santa Claus, every part of Christmas has a story to tell. And most importantly, Christmas reminds us that even though we're different, we can always find a reason to celebrate together. Merry Christmas, everyone. Good night.